Hello and welcome to the PANACEA model, to genetically recode self-sabotaging patterns and limiting beliefs to attain self-mastery using therapeutic and holistic practices. PANACEA comes from a Greek word meaning all healing. This unique model was crafted from decades of personal and professional experience to provide powerful shortcut strategies to bring proven solutions forward.
The 7 strategies provided in this PANACEA acronym is a complete system guiding others towards solutions only discovered internally by learning how to access our advanced guidance system, since there are no answers outside of us. We will cover advanced topics that we outlined in our introductory series more in depth, including our final PANACEA model, providing valuable shortcut strategies, personal empowerment, self-mastery, and permanent life solutions. So we're delighted to share our collective work in these core healing techniques to overcome self-limiting beliefs, fears, and negative patterns through subconscious programming with ease by healing generational blocks to fulfill your potential and soul purpose. And this will also help guide you to overcome inherent challenges, decoding the trapped emotion so you can gain greater self-confidence and self-worth through unconditional self-love. We will discover methods such as the powerful mirroring technique through partner and relationship dynamics, and the common barriers such as self-sabotaging behaviors, getting you from where you're at to where you want to be and reaching your greatest potential.
We will be implementing genetic recoding strategies as well throughout the PANACEA model, which is a therapeutic process that naturally alters the gene expression when transforming negative subconscious programming and inherited beliefs. These strategies can guide you in signaling the precise gene expression to activate your healing on a genetic level. So be sure to refer to your companion guidebook throughout the PANACEA model to get the most out of your experience. We begin the PANACEA model by identifying and addressing the presenting problem. This could be related to a person, a circumstance, such as work, or a health-related issue, or another pain point related to an event. The remainder of the model will be used to genetically recode and perceptually reframe the source of the problem, pain point, or person. You will apply each step in the PANACEA model to the subject you identify as your P. In this healing strategy, we will help you identify your key players and shapeshifters. Apply the mirror technique and Cartman drama triangle to assist you in accurately identifying your core emotions and genetically transferred beliefs that you will begin working on to recode and reframe. You can also refer to your reference guides to genetically recode core emotions and subconscious beliefs to further assist you with this step. After the end of this strategy, if you are still unclear on which presenting issue you would like to work on, it is always recommended to commence with your parents, and it is the best shortcut method toward overcoming primary challenges, core issues, and achieving transformation. So let's begin by discussing the DNA connection. As with any therapy, if we want to address the core level, we need to first consider how we are genetically wired and understand the DNA connection of our own genetic and psychological behavioral traits and subconscious programming. Each of us realize that we are in part a product of our parents, yet we may not be aware that the genes we inherit will dictate our life's choices, behaviors, and actions, including the outcomes of our successes and our failures, due to the beliefs we also inherit. Our failures and subconscious patterns are generally self-sabotaging behaviors derived from our DNA. Most practitioners don't address this to the core level to overcome negative default programming to advance and recode our programming for the long term. If we are to not only practice our own medicine, but also master it, we must understand the concept of our biological behavior first and foremost. Most of the stress that we encounter is, in fact, genetically transferred. Many patterns in your life can be traced to genetic traumas, hardships, and unresolved conflicts that are stored in your DNA from your ancestors. Science has proven that DNA is not only the physical characteristics of your lineage, but also the accumulation of emotional traumas from earlier generations that lead to our current subconscious beliefs and conscious reality that was transferred and inherited genetically. Brain science calls this field of study and treatment epigenetics. Epigenetics is a science that views our development as the result of an ongoing interchange between hereditary and environmental factors. According to molecular biologists, your genes are shaped in part by your ancestors' life experiences and demonstrates that traits and behaviors that were acquired in one generation can be passed on to subsequent generations. So, what have you learned from your environment, including past or present experiences? What have you learned from your genetic or default patterns? What are some of your freedoms and what are some of your limitations? Findings suggest that the majority of our subconscious blocks were inherited from our parents and grandparents. The brain inherits unfinished business transferred from our ascendants. Traumatic experiences in particular frequently result in strong emotional reactions that are stored within the brain's neural pathways and the cells of the body, locking an individual to some extent within the same emotional experience. So for example, if a person felt abandoned by a parent at youth, the offspring may have inherited a fear of being abandoned. One may continue to carry that subconscious conditioning throughout their lifetime until it is reprogrammed and genetically recoded. Therefore, we inherit both psychological and physical dispositions in the form of beliefs and subconscious programming.
Let's explore presenting problems by using some examples of epigenetics at work. A young mother conceived a daughter before marriage and wasn't psychologically ready to be a mother. So her fear was that she wouldn't be a good enough mother as she had not fulfilled her own dreams yet and felt that her spouse or partner wasn't emotionally supportive, ultimately leading to a divorce. Then her daughter repeated the same cycle and conceived her first daughter premaritally and experienced the same fear of not feeling good enough, as she too married for the sake of the child, sacrificing her own dreams and happiness. Then later divorced because of these emotional complexities from the same epigenetic patterns. Then this first child conceived a son and her partner unfortunately passed away, leaving this young mother in fear of not feeling ready to raise a child on her own and also fearing that she wouldn't be a good enough mother. She faced many tragedies and hardships that led her to address her healing and soul work. The single mother conceived a son and is now working on being the chain breaker of this inherent cycle. The acronym P may very well be associated with an inherited pattern or belief. So it's important to work primarily with the deepest core beliefs or inherited patterns to address and eliminate the majority of our life's problems. And by doing so, many of our issues will begin to dissolve on their own accord because oftentimes they are related and more than likely merely a symptom and result of our core inherited beliefs. And there are far too many inadvertent parenting mistakes, but the price is just too high. Whether the parent is too overprotective and won't let the child do anything, it may send the implicit message that the child can't do anything right on their own and lead to a child fearing making their own decisions and being overtly passive, or a child always being compared to more accomplished children at youth may lead to a child developing an inferiority complex or self-criticism. Although parents mean well and love their child, the harm done can last a lifetime until the emotional impression and psychological imprint is addressed and therefore transformed. Unmet needs evolve as a result of a child seeking the affection, comfort, or protection of their parent during times that may be difficult and perceiving those needs as being unmet in the attempt. For example, a child may get hurt and run to the parent for emotional support to feel comforted and protected. If the child feels that his or her emotional needs were dismissed or overlooked at that time, she or he may not effectively self-regulate his or her own emotions, but develop a maladaptive coping response as a result of the ego's proclivity towards the protective mechanisms, regardless of whether the parent did his or her best to adequately meet the child's needs. These fallible methods will ultimately shape their child's behavior and life.
Core issues may be associated with a perceived unmet psychological need or an early adverse childhood experience or memory, such as trauma or being a witness to trauma. For instance, you may have witnessed a family or loved one who was repeatedly abused and consequently formed a new belief as a result of it. You may have told yourself that relationships are unsafe or that you cannot trust anyone. These beliefs may have served for a time as a way to protect yourself from further harm because the primitive brain is meant to keep us safe and unharmed. However, there comes a time when our beliefs limit us and no longer serve us, which may also prevent us from experiencing further opportunities and success. They may have prevented us from developing close bonds or deeper intimate relationships with others. So can you recall any memories in which your emotional or physical needs were unmet as a child? And perhaps how holding on to that belief may no longer be in your best interest.
In the introduction course to genetic recoding by addressing subconscious blocks, we explored ways to deconflict and address the negative effects of maladaptive responses resulting from these core inherited beliefs or perceived voids and the generational family patterns. So now take mental inventory and notice what people or events activate certain emotional triggers. These emotional reactions are from distorted beliefs and the epigenetic programming that serve as an internal mirror into our blind spots, as well as our unresolved emotions that resulted from our perceived voids of these unmet needs, which is necessary to decode and uncover in order to restore wholeness and attain emotional integration. While many of us need to come to terms with the fact that our parents were not our deity and are imperfect humans, this exercise is not intended to place blame or negativity on any of your caretakers. It is, however, intended to provide valuable insight into our beliefs and behaviors exhibited through the mirror technique. Our core beliefs are rooted in our biology, as well as early childhood experiences related to our parents. With age regression, we can trace a pattern drawing from our current experience and back to our early childhood leading to our birth, then finally to generational hardships. This isn't intended to open old wounds. However, it is designed to process unresolved trapped emotion or the trauma that is still operating within the subconscious faulty programming, because our past shapes who we are and our present reality today. If you were raised by more than one caretaker or were not raised by your biological parents, to complete this exercise, you may need to write any unmet physical or psychological needs from both your biological parents and other caretakers in each section. In other words, you may have perhaps felt that their physical or emotional absence may be the case to the perceived void. We understand that it is not our caretaker's responsibility to meet all of our unmet emotional needs. However, we will cover more in-depth techniques for you to gain more insight and understanding around the subconscious programming. Common negative emotions and beliefs resulting from unmet childhood needs when the programming was conditioned or imprinted are often associated with issues related to these following subconscious beliefs. See which one you may relate to. A subconscious belief of feeling unworthiness, a poor self-worth, lacking emotional security, feeling not enough or inadequate and incompetent, feels powerless or like a victim, perception of being unacknowledged, invalidated, or unvalued. Each of these feelings will most likely create cognitive distortions and self-defeating patterns until they are healed. And this is more than likely the child that had developed these feelings when they didn't feel loved or didn't feel that their needs were met at that moment. And the purpose of this PANACEA system is to help heal these patterns. So describe some of your unmet psychological needs from your biological parents or caretakers. Describe some of your unmet psychological needs from other caretakers or the key players that shaped your experience, i.e. relatives, neighbors, school teachers, or other authority figures. Describe some of your unmet needs in your current relationships, perhaps with a spouse or partner. How is this individual or experience a lesson or a blessing? Are there similar patterns or characteristics of your key players? Do they exhibit a specific quality, such as over-controlling? If you look at them as your shapeshifters that are shaping you into the person that you're meant to be, you could understand that they are key players into your life. And see if there's a resemblance to a parent or caretaker in your childhood. And if these key players are still being mirrored throughout your life now. Identify and list any similarities regarding these unmet needs from your biological parents or caretakers and in your current relationship with this spouse or partner. See the resemblance, understanding that they have all helped shape you where you're meant to improve, become more skilled, or develop a specific strength from a valuable lesson that may have implied where there was room to grow and how you've become shaped into the individual that you are today. This helps to create new reframes, therefore reprogramming the belief by changing the narrative to that of a more empowering one.